Hello and welcome to the Tachiai discussion, I guess is what we'll call it for Haru 2020. We're calling it the Silent Basho because just this morning it was announced that the NSK is going to conduct this tournament with nobody in attendance. Talk about a weird one. We've had some odd Bashos in the last couple of years, but this one is going to take the cake. So let's get some reaction. First of all, say hello, Andy.
Hey, Bruce.
And say hello to our man in foreign lands, Josh, who is currently in Asia, enjoying the microbiology. Hi, Josh.
Yeah.
Hi, Josh. Say hello.
Batten down the hatches over here.
So, thoughts and reactions, Josh, to them holding this tournament with nobody in attendance?
Yeah, it's disappointing. I mean, it's the right thing to do, but that doesn't make it not disappointing. I think those of us who watch the early divisions of sumo, when either in Japan or you're watching on your streams or whatever, will be kind of used to watching sumo with the lack of crowd noise. It's interesting. I mean, the thing that's important, I think, to note for me is Osaka is the best basho when it comes to crowd atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tight arena.
And access to the rikishi, too.
Yeah, right, exactly. They have to walk through the fans in the hallway on their way to and from the dojo, so the fans can get really raucous and really supportive, especially of the local guys. So I'm doubly disappointed because I had tickets. So, but I'm still going to go to Osaka and have a good time.
Yeah, a number of friends of Tachiai had their plans flushed down the toilet by this decision. But Andy, do you think this was the right decision?
Yes, as regrettable as it is. I mean, you can't have all of the spectators in there. I mean, it's not like a regular, I guess, a regular tournament or a regular going to a basketball game or something where you're there for a couple of hours. I mean, it usually when I go, I mean, it's not just for makuuchi. I'm there all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eat with people, and I mean, you hang out there, and that is just not. I guess that is kind of like a horror story for somebody trying to prevent the spread of a virus. So I do get why not, and then especially like some of the numbers that I've seen and how lethal this virus is for the elderly in particular, like 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds. I mean,
which is probably about half of the fan base, right?
Exactly.
That show up.
When you look at
everyone else is too busy working, so it's like the retirees are the ones who actually come out to the venue in many cases.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the cushions down there, the people sitting on those zabuton, it's not a bunch of fresh faces. So it does seem like that would be a bad idea to hold a 15-day tournament, 15 days all day for a primarily retiree age fan base. So it does make sense. I am very curious because Nakabi is right around there in the March 15th date where they set that for the J League when they're going to start playing some games again, potentially. So I am still very curious about whether the virus will be able to be. I know it's not going to be contained in a week or in 2 weeks, but I will be very eager to see where we are at that point, and whether, I don't know, there's any kind of advancement in the treatment or more, I don't know, more information leaks out about whether it's not necessarily quite so such a bad virus.
So some details from Haru who due to the good fortune of her placement on planet Earth, is able to catch a lot of this stuff as it breaks in the middle of the night U.S. time. So Chikramazу, they're not actually going to have any power water. They're just going to go through the motions. Interesting development, and I can see that, given that the risk of contagion comes from bodily fluids, and there's ample evidence that this virus can actually be aerosolized and spread in a very very pernicious way, and that they're still going to hand out kensho, but I guess the NSK is expecting a bunch of sponsors to cancel. My thought is that it could be that this tournament has a lot more eyeballs than normal, right? They're already starting to advise companies to have employees work from home to reduce the burden on public transportation. You may see a lot of people turned into this tournament more so than normal. But Josh, any thoughts about some of these changes that they're doing? I mean, what do you think it's going to be like? You'll be in Japan. You'll be in Osaka because you had tickets, right? Are you going to be watching stuff, or what's the plan here?
I'm going to be at the aquarium unless they close that. It's a fantastic aquarium in Osaka. Look, the only thing I'd say is, we're speaking a week in front of the Basho. I think exactly a week in front. And it can go one way or the other. To your point, there could be a really great opportunity for people who are not in the workplace or not at school to be watching and discovering sumo and discovering new people to be fans of. And it can go completely the other way, which is that if the situation worsens, which I think we all hope it doesn't, of course, they could still yet cancel the whole thing. People within the, obviously they've said as part of this stuff that Haru posted in translation that, anybody who has a fever above a certain measurement will be automatically declared Kyujo. But, a lot can change in a really short space of time. And, the one thing that I've noticed, we've all noticed, and Bruce, you've posted about as well, is, there's a lot of people who've weighed in about this within the sumo community and outside the sumo community and social media and around who are not necessarily scientific experts. And so there's just a lot that can happen over the next few years. So, as far as what I'm going to get up to, I'm going to enjoy some great ramen. I'm going with a friend who loves okonomiyaki.
There you go.
Whiskey will be drunk. Yep. Whiskey will be drank, and people will be drunk. So that is, at a minimum, what will happen.
As it should be, sir. Good show. So, supposedly they're even changing the way the broadcasting is going to be done. You've got to wonder. All right, so allow me to just side note for a minute is that I know that the Grand Sumo team at NHK World typically records their preview show, their awesome preview show sometime in advance. Those people have to be just wondering when to do this because the situation now is so incredibly fluid. Andy, any pity for John Gunning and Murray Johnson? And no pity, of course, for Raja because he's just basically a chew toy. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andy.
Well, no, I'm very envious because I think that this will be a really, really unique tournament to be able to watch, and to be there with nobody else. I mean, empty arena.
That'd be spooky, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been there at 8 a.m. for like the start just because, I'm from America and I'm awake at that time. Right.
Oh, and yeah, that's the thing is like when you're there watching for Hattori Sakura.
Yeah, and there's nobody there. It's like you get it because it's Hattori Sakura. But like Hakuho steps on the dojo and there's nothing. It's just absolutely dead quiet.
Well, there was that one note that Haruth had about how the sanyaku when they bow, it's not going to be to all four sections positions of the arena. Right. It's just going to be to the cameras, and so it's going to be very, very odd. And so I will be very envious of the chosen few who are able to be kind of corralled into into their secure zones, not down there near because they're not going to have the still photographers down near the dojo. It seemed like, so they'll be elsewhere in the arena, but you'll still be able to get great pictures, and there will be a very odd atmosphere to those images.
Oh, sure.
Because we've seen that from some of the baseball games that they've had to play with empty stadiums.
Oh,
like it's just, well, actually there have been some Bundesliga games.
So I got to interrupt you. I have to tell you that when you said that the pictures are going to have an odd atmosphere, I actually went to Tokyo for Hatsu in order to score a treasure trove of pictures that we could use as backgrounds for our banner images, but it's full of cheering people.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for this one.
Yeah, whenever you see any of the pictures, there's so many like fans there in the background, and now you're gonna see Hakuho doing his salt toss, empty
to
seats.
An empty venue.
Yokozuna goes down, you're not gonna get Zabuton thrown. I mean, it's gonna be. It's just going to be fascinating. I mean, there were a couple of soccer tournaments I think that they had to hold behind closed doors because of like racism and fan action, where basically they were punishing the teams for they were punishing the fans for being unruly, and so they had to play some tournament or some games. And it's going to be really odd. So I think that it's going to be a very weird experience that they're going to be able to kind of, as a reporter, it will be more interesting.
So Josh, you're in Asia, and you've been in Asia for a few weeks now. What's the mood like there? Because my curiosity is, I don't think that the matter is closed yet. They still might decide that the risk is too much. I mean, what's the attitude like among the public? I know you're not in Japan yet, towards this contagion.
Yeah, I won't be in Japan until later this week. I've been in Southeast Asia for the past few weeks. It's been different. I've been in 3 different countries. Singapore, I think, has been generally lauded for how they've handled it. Have taken it extremely seriously. Obviously, there have been a reasonably large number of reported cases there. But again, you have to remember, I think most people have done a really good job, at least in this part of the world, keeping things in perspective, which is that, it's rapidly spreading and it's extremely serious, but it's still reached a very small percentage of people. 100 out of millions in a given place is still quite small. But, even going in and out of my hotel in Singapore, temperature screening and, in most places, certainly in Singapore, also in Thailand, you'll have bacterial spray and bacterial liquid, antibacterial wash and things like that. Pretty much most public places, here in Bangkok, they're doing a pretty good job of disinfecting most things quite regularly. A lot of cleaning staff out and about. I mean, you are seeing a lot of people all over the place, regardless of where you are, that are in masks. Most places have had a little bit less traffic and less foot traffic maybe than usual. Obviously, as we were talking before we got on the chat here, there's been a huge decrease in flights. So that's just meant there's less people on the streets, there's less travelers coming in. So it's a little bit subdued, but it's an extreme populous part of the world, and it's a very closely packed part of the world. Especially compared with a lot of the places where our readership comes from. So, by those measures, I mean, it's still a much more lively and populous experience than most of us are used to, but less so than normal.
All right, so let's on the way out, let's do a couple of predictions. Andy, are they still going to hold this tournament?
Yes.
You think so? Yeah,
I mean, they've spent so much money moving the wrestlers and everybody over to Osaka that I think. Whatever we learn as economists about sunk costs, and you don't treat that. You treat that as a sunk cost.
Yep.
I think that the machinations that they've put into this is just too much. So they will hold it behind closed doors, and we're talking about a population of pretty healthy guys in their 20s.
Yep.
I think
who live cheek to jowl, by the way, and are exchanging bodily fluids daily, not through any sort of illicit contact or conduct, but the fact that they're smacking each other around in practice.
Well, and that's not going to change if they're back home in the
Heya, right?
In the practice, in the Heya, in their stables. That they'll probably, I guess, have less opportunity maybe. But yeah, I think that they will still have the tournament.
So Josh, they're going to be refunding tens of thousands of tickets a freaking logistical nightmare if there ever was one. But do you think, I mean, including yours, but what do you think? Do you think they're still going to go ahead and conduct the Haru Basho?
I'd say it's probably a 80% chance.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like they've covered a lot of contingencies. They have a plan in place that they've obviously communicated. I think it would take another communique from the government officials to the Sumo Association to say that's not enough, or for the situation to worsen considerably. So yeah, I think they will do it. I would also say on that tip, you know, I give a shout out to our guys over at Buy Sumo Tickets, who we've all used. I mean, they've been on top of with the communication. And to your point, it's going to be hard because, you know, the way that it works with a tournament like this and refunding tickets, you know, Japan is a physical ticket market. And you can't just say, oh, I bought a ticket, you've got to refund this. You know, here's my details. You have to actually physically have that ticket in order for it to be refunded. And so a person like me who is, you know, not arriving in Japan till right before the tournament is fairly lucky because my tickets haven't got sent out yet. And so it's going to be easier for me to get that refund. But, you know, folks all around the world are going to have to ship those tickets back to the broker.
Oh, yeah.
And then have them do that and then have them process the refund and get that sent. So, I mean, it's going to really be a process.
Yeah. And that's one of the key points that I'm very interested about, like not just Buy Sumo Tickets, but the Ochaya and any of the secondary markets, because if the Kyokai are reimbursing and refunding people, it's going to be face value refund, I imagine, from them. So any of the premium for the Ochaya, who usually give you like the
gift bag,
bento and like gifts and stuff like that. I mean, I imagine it will be up to the vendor as far as what you will end up getting. Because I remember I was actually scheduled to be on a tour in Japan when the tsunami hit, and it was not very. I think we had insurance, but we didn't get everything back from what we were scheduled on having that tour. And so I think that it will be very interesting to see and hear from people as far as their experiences with that. And then with the Kyokai, they're not going to be able to have $10 million at hand to just kind of refund everybody. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out and how long that plays out.
Yeah, in my case, it's minus the vendor fee. So you get your ticket back minus the vendor fee, so the face value of the tickets, which you get refunded.
Okay, well, that's going to wrap up our introductory segment, fans. Stay in touch with this one. This is going to be the kind of tournament that you're not going to see possibly ever again. So that wraps it for this segment. We'll be doing other segments as we get closer to the tournament. Thank you, and remember, for Sumo, it's Tachiai.